Pavell, and I'm the principal of Delta Secondary. And you've met Mike Annandale, one of our VPs. I'm just going to pause for a second so that our other vice principal, Maggie Calendar, can come on, introduce herself, as she will be your grade administrator next year. So Maggie, would you like to jump in?
Hello, everybody. It's so great to see all your little faces and names on Zoom. It's so much better to be in person, but I'm very grateful to be here today and to welcome you all. This year I am grade 9 and 11 VP, but next year I'll be the grade 8 and the grade 10 VP. So I'm really excited to be working with the grade 8s next year, and so excited to be a pacer here at DSS. So have a good evening, and I hope you don't forget to put any questions that you want to in the chat.
All right, thank you, Maggie. In a moment, I'm just going to share my computer screen. We have a little PowerPoint presentation for all of you, just about what you can expect at Delta Secondary and for your child coming into grade 8. As we mentioned, we're going to ask that you keep your microphones turned off, and to help us with the bandwidth and just for your privacy, because we are recording. You don't have to have your picture shown. You can turn off your video, but please use the chat feature. For those of you that are maybe new to Zoom, if you're viewing us from the web browser, at the bottom of your screen, there should be some little icons. There's a little microphone that controls your mic. If it's red with a line through it, it means your microphone is off. There's also a little chat bubble or chat feature. When you click on that, a side window pops up on your computer screen, and you'll be able to see the conversation that is happening for everyone in the chat and where you can post questions. Maggie and Mike, my two wonderful vice principals, will try and answer any of those questions that you have in the chat as we're going. And if they see a question that they think is probably an important one for all of us to hear, they'll just stop me in my presentation. I'll try and address it there if it pertains to the slide we're talking about, and we'll have a question and answer period at the end. Again, I want to welcome you all to Delta Secondary, and looking forward to walking through a bit of our slideshow and telling you a bit more about our wonderful school. Mr. Andale, can people see my computer screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Sorry, it worked perfectly in the dry one. Let's do this again. Oh, Mr. Andale, you have to make me a co-host so I can share, since I've transferred power to you.
I've made you the host, so it's just because you were co-host. So I think there's preferences, but it should work now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's try this again. Apologies, everyone. Bear with me. Okay, can everyone see the slideshow now? All right, so yeah. Again, welcome parents of our class of 2026. Today, just a brief presentation regarding grade 8 high school and course selection, which is currently happening for the next couple of weeks. Just to give you a bit of an overview, we've done the Zoom protocols. I'll begin with an acknowledgement shortly, but our plan is to sort of go over a bit about school information, life as a student, the various opportunities we have for them, course selections. I do want to spend a few minutes talking about how to connect with us digitally, as well as using the cell phones, and then we'll answer any questions at the end. I'd like to begin just with a land acknowledgement. And many of us today are on the beautiful lands of the Tsawwassen and Musqueam First Nations people, and all of the Hunkaminam speaking people who've been stewards of this land since time immemorial. And at this time, I'd also like to offer my respect to all the elders who have gone before us, and to any of the elders and First Nations people who are with us today. As you got a chance to see our screen briefly, for those of you that came in, this is our administration team for this year, and we're assuming for next year as well. In terms of liaisons with family and students, we do go by grade. All three of us are available to support all of our students, but we do have sort of point people to run at. And while Mr. Annandale was with the grade 8s this year, he'll follow them all the way through up until grade 11. And Ms. Calendar will be picking up next year the grade 8s and our grade 10s. what can I tell you about Delta Secondary? It's definitely a lot larger than the elementary schools your children are coming from. And we have a population of approximately 1,200 students. Uh, Over 130 staff work in our school, everything from clerical to a full functioning cafeteria. We have an Indigenous support advocate, and Constable Rob Semler, a Ladner gentleman, is also our school liaison. We also have a pack, and unlike the elementary school packs, we don't do a lot of fundraising or begging parents to flog chocolates or other items. And at this time, I was just going to pause my presentation. Ms. Dean, I believe you're with us tonight, and Ms. Dean just want to pass on a welcome and a few words to you, the audience. Ms. Dean, if you want to maybe turn on your camera, and I'll mute my mic, and the floor is all yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Carrie. As John said, I am the PAC chair. I'm in my second year of being PAC chair, and I have a student in grade 11 and had one that graduated 2 years ago. So I've been with the school for a few years, and I think 5 out of 6 of us on the PAC are on our second child. So there's lots of experience on the PAC executive at the moment. And as John mentioned, we don't fundraise on the PAC here, so it's a lot less labor intensive than elementary school. We have our budget is primarily financed through the BC Gaming Grant, so we get about $23,000 each school year, and we work with staff to enhance the learning experience. And as similar in the elementary schools, we get a wish list from the teachers each year, and then we sit with Mr. Paveo and decide which expenses are appropriate. And we have funded 3D printers and library books and sports equipment, student government projects, actually the grade 8 transition program, which will involve your students next September in their journey to transition into high school and get used to that new world. We have lots of fun activities that they plan for the kids over the year. And our PAC meetings are on the third Wednesday of each month. They used to be in the library. We still have a few of us that meet there, but most of our meetings are done by Zoom. And we welcome any parents to come and join us at any of our meetings. And certainly on Zoom, it's more convenient for lots of people to join in. Mr. Paveo is present at all our meetings and brings us current updates on what's happening in the school and the district and all that kind of stuff. So we're always up to date. Currently keeping us up to date too on COVID protocols and what's happening in the school. And I think we've done very well with the leadership at our school with the COVID situation. I'm personally very happy with how things have gone. So we're moving well in there. If anybody has questions, feel free to come chat to any of us on the PAC executive at any time. If you're interested in meetings past, you can go on to the school website and click on the parent community, and you'll find a link to the PAC information there where you can look up minutes from past meetings, see who's on the current board, etc. I think we have some email addresses on there, so feel free, if you have any questions, you can always speak to the administration, call the office, or contact any of us on the PAC executive, and we'd be very happy to help you out. We handle all the money end of things, but we also just like to give moral support to new parents, and sometimes it's overwhelming when you're coming to a new school, but we're here to support you in any way we can, and we would love to have you join in with us and share your thoughts, questions, opinions, and make it a wonderful experience for everybody. So welcome, and I hope to get to see you in September.
Thanks, Carrie, and thank you for doing that. And you might have seen in the chat box, I've posted a link directly to the Delta Secondary PAC and their website that they run, and feel free to hit us up with any questions. Sorry, I'll just jump back over to our screen again. There we go, sorry. So one of the big advantages we have of being one of the larger high schools in the district, it's the amount of opportunities and programs that we have for our students. Now, yes, this year has been a little different with COVID, and not as many of our activities are able to run in the normal capacity that we have. But we've been visiting your students at their schools last week and coming up next week, and just talking about, we want our students to sort of find their purpose, find their passion, and explore as many opportunities. And as you can sort of see from that slide, We have a pretty comprehensive learning program at Delta Secondary between the athletics, the fine arts, our technical studies and apprenticeship programs, and we have a number of clubs, activities, and student leadership opportunities. So our message is always for students to become involved. You're probably also going to hear a lot over your next 5 years about being a pacer. And I know the school has a rich history and a rich tradition. One of the things that's normally been done at the school is when we have all of you in our theater live, we always like to ask for a show of hands of how many of you this is your old high school, or your spouse or a parent or a family member went through it. I've always found it quite fascinating to see our students stopping in the decade hallways looking for parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, and everything from the stylish hairdos or the attire we wore back then, to point out the family. And that's one of the best things about Delta Secondary, is that we are this tight knit community. A third of my staff, Delta Secondary, is their old high school. Half my staff live in the Ladner Tawasin area and have many connections with our business partners. So that's one of the best things about Delta. And I always tell the students that's also the worst thing about Delta, because everyone knows their business. And if you're between the ages of 13 and 18 years old, I'm probably going to get a phone call if you were doing something that people question, because that's not what we expect of our pacers. And our student code of conduct, we work with students, we talk about a good pacer. We want your children to participate, get involved in clubs and programs, be active learners in the classroom, but to participate. We're a school with a rich tradition of academic excellence, and we challenge our students to achieve in the classroom, on the playing field, in the community, but to do the best that they can. It's really shone during this past year with the pandemic, but we are definitely a caring school, and we try and uh, model that knowledge only for our students, but hopefully empower our students to be caring individuals. Care for themselves, care for others, care for their school. We want students to explore and try different things. There are so many elective options. We will be having those conversations. Well, you might excel in this area, or you might want to try this as a potential course or a possible area that you might want to pursue down the road, whether it's for just personal interest or a passion project or a potential vocational or a career move down the road. And the biggest one for us is the respect. We want our children to respect themselves with how they dress and how they conduct themselves. And we talk about what their brand is, uh, respect for our community partners, our classmates, our peers, and everyone else around there. And every Friday we do a draw where teachers recognize students who have been good pacers, and they get acknowledged not only over the PA, but they receive a token gift from us at a school. And we're currently working on a composite display where we could show all those students who demonstrate excellent pacer pride week in and week out. I just tried to pull a couple of quick slides of sort of what a typical year looks for us. Everything from the chess club to Miss Campbell and our choir performing at a night event, to students working in our culinary arts program, preparing the delicious meals and catering products that we're able to offer, and students excelling in either arts, our engineering class in the top right corner there. The students had actually built a drone, and last year they were working on a video game console. And then the bottom right corner, athletics has always been a proud tradition at a school. When I was speaking to your children last week during my elementary visits, and with this year's grade eights, my one bit of sadness is they haven't received a full high school experience. They haven't sat in that gym on a Thursday or Friday night with 600 students cheering on our senior girls or senior boys in an athletic endeavor. They haven't had a chance to have that grade wide breakfast we traditionally do with Santa with the grade eights, or our grade eight Olympics that we've been able to do. And we're trying to do things within learning groups and find small ways to recognize students. But like many of you, we're hoping that the future and the brighter days will bring some optimism and hopefully a return to a new normal that allows us to enjoy all those experiences of high school. And again, the message that we found is it's participation. When we see students struggle as they come from elementary to high school, it's it's that piece of connection, and we understand they go from being leaders in their small school and this bigger fish in a pond, and now we've released them into the mouth of the Fraser River, with 1,200 other students. And you know there's so much they can get out of school through not only making connections and lifelong friendships, but that feeling of confidence and self-worth and belonging to something. And you know, while this picture is just highlighting, you know, our athletics program, we were very proud of our senior girls. They made it to the provincial championship, a first for us in over 50 years. But through clubs, through athletics, through their academics, through the various clubs we run, we really want you to encourage your children to get involved and find an activity that they can do at lunch or after school and truly become part of our Pacer community. In a normal year, this is just a list of sort of the many clubs that we run. Right now, you might have received our current parents received an email from the Environmental Club and a project and endeavor that we're doing. Our Big Buddies is our mentorship program. And the plan is for next year is that when your child comes to Delta Secondary, they're paired up in little groups along with a senior big buddy or a senior mentor who's able to connect with them about school and high school life and help in supporting that transition. One of the grade 7 visits I was at Hawthorne Elementary, and someone asked if they had a Harry Potter club, and I said no to the young man who was there. But I said, but if there's enough grade 8s that are interested in Harry Potter, we'll definitely find a way to make that club happen. And that's the other thing. We don't want to stifle or limit student creativity or leadership options, and we have a very supportive staff of student opportunities. So if there's something that we're not offering, please reach out to one of us and we'll see what we can do to accommodate that request. This is what it's all about. And in a typical year, on the first day of school, and I believe it might be September 7th for us this fall coming up, we do a grade 8 orientation, and we make the first day of high school a big celebration for the grade 8s. Leadership games, music, balloons, streamers, and we do a grad photo. And I purposely selected this photo because this will be your children's big buddies next year. This is going to be our graduating class of 2022, and this was their first day 5 years ago. And I was here at the school as a VP, and you all know as parents watching your children grow up, time just seems to fly by. And, you know, we're looking forward to seeing your children show up bright-eyed and full of excitement on that opening day, and then working with them over the next 5 years. And that's where I want to pause. High school really is a journey, and it's about that journey. And it's going to be a journey that's going to have hopefully many successes and accolades and accomplishments. But we also know it's going to be filled with some struggles, some failures, and some vulnerability. You know, but between our counseling department, our child and youth care workers, our administrative team, and our staff, we're here to support your students. And you know, we want to keep our children's minds open to the endless possibilities that they have, and really use this opportunity to take some courses, get involved, and ultimately try and find out what their true passion is, and hopefully learn a lot about themselves on the way. And hopefully along that journey in 5 years time, we'll all be here. Our graduation last year and this year will look a lot different because of the pandemic, but not being a Delta resident originally and teaching in a different school district before I came to Delta Secondary, blown away by the community feel of that red carpet event. And we're all here to watch your child cross that stage with dignity, purpose, and options moving forward. And we all want to be able to celebrate probably one of their highlights of their high school career is their graduation, their graduation dinner dance. And just let you know that both Mike, Maggie, and myself are all here to answer questions, help you along the way. And we really see this high school experience as a true partnership between not only the school and the community, but including the families as well. I'm just going to pause there for a second to catch my breath because I can't see any of you, and take a sip of water. And Mike or Maggie, if there are any pressing questions that might have related to those slides, can you maybe provide an answer for them?
I think we've answered most of the questions in the chat, just some about signing up and for private school or students who are not Delta in the current Delta public elementary school. When you complete your registration process, you will be selecting your courses at that time, and a MyEd account will be made. I know we will be talking a little bit more about the course selection coming up, but there are some questions already coming up. There's not a lot of selection for grade 8s. It's more getting used to the process, but I will leave that and answer some of those a little bit later in the presentation.
Thanks, Mike. All right. as Mike had alluded to, part of the experience of doing course selection is to familiarize your child with MyEd, and that is the database and the system the Ministry of Education uses for report cards, transcripts, course selection, and communication with families in school. And at Delta Secondary, students take 8 courses over the course of the year. And in grade 8, we don't give them a lot of choice because they're required to take 7. And the 7 that they take are highlighted on the screen. In humanities, it's English and socials. We do a math science, physical health education, French, and then our exploration wide design skills and technologies. And next year, depending on the rotation that your child has, they will get one or more of the following course offerings for them. And in the career explorations, we try to expose your child to the many course offerings that are offered moving forward. If some of you have a child that has already been through our school or is at a senior year, you probably notice that you only see Mathematics 8. And last year we made the decision before this school year started that we are going to offer one level of math. We recognize, students are coming from different elementary schools, and like any school, there might be a different focus from that teacher on the math. And we wanted all the students to sort of start at one foundational level with us. The other piece of making that switch from not offering tiers or streaming in the math options is those streams are not recognized by the Ministry of Education, and that at the grade 8 and grade 9 level, they only offer Principles of Mathematics 8 and Principles of Mathematics 9. For students that do struggle with math or with any of the other subjects that we do offer, we do have a structure and systems of supports that I'll address in a couple minutes to help support those students with their learning in those areas. But these are the 7 courses that the students will be selecting and are almost a default requirement. So for your child, it's just a matter of clicking on the box to acknowledge that these are the courses they're going to have. The one choice that your child will get to have is in the area of fine arts. And the choice comes down to a fine arts explorations, which is a rotation of art, so drawing and painting, drama, which is our theater program, and guitar, or they can elect to take band 8 or a beginner or intermediate band. I know in visiting some of the schools, there are band programs where students are involved, and band is an excellent course and opportunity for our students. I'm quite envious of our band program because there's always a lineup of teachers who want to help chaperone with Ms. Campbell and Mr. Dobrovoni, as our band classes over the past few years have been to Hawaii and Europe, the East Coast in New York. They've performed in Anaheim and Disneyland, more closer in Whistler or Victoria, but it's a great experience for the students. Ms. Campbell is very passionate about her band program and supporting those students. And in grade 8, we also have a 9th option. So as we said, 8 is sort of the standard number of courses, but we can always take additional ones. And so we also offer a choir program. We call it Choir 8, but our choir class is a multi-graded class, and that one is run after school. And the reason why we run it after school is just simply because at this point, we don't have enough numbers or interest to run it as grade-specific classes. For example, a choir 8 and a choir 10. So we run it as one program. They go once or twice a week after school for a little bit of time over the course of the year for that choir performance. Oops, sorry, lost you there. Now, I know there are some students that do require some support, and I just want to take a minute to talk about the support programs we offer at Delta Secondary. When we look at support, there are 2 types of support programs. There's a support program, which the students refer to as strategies, which is at the school-based level. And we offer a learning assistance support block or a LD support block. The LD support block runs the same as our learning assistance. It's a support block for academic support, for executive functioning support, for organizational support. The difference being, in order to get into our LD support program, students have to have a Q designation, as a Q designation signifies a learning challenge or learning disability. In terms of the transition, who gets access to the learning support coming into grade 8, in about a month's time, we'll begin from about mid-April till the end of May. We'll be in regular communication with the grade 7 teachers, the elementary school principals, and members of our school-based team, and we'll be collecting information and looking at stretches and strengths of the students that will be joining us next year. And through those meetings, looking to see who may need a support block and offer a support block. In addition to the learning assistance or strategies that we also offer 4 other support programs in our school: GradQuest, supportive learning, modified academics, and life skills. These programs have clearly defined criteria determined by the school district. For these 4 programs, there is a designation piece for the student, whether it's with concerns around mental health or behavioral, whether it's around a physical limitation or disability, or an autism designation, or whether it might be for a child who may need some additional academic supports or requiring some life skills. In the past, if you had an older child at Delta Secondary, a class would have been dropped from their schedule to provide them a block of support. They might have had, for example, support during Block C every other day. And if they had French or if they had fine arts in that Block C, that class was removed and the support block was put in. Due to the pandemic this year and how we wanted to try and ensure that we weren't just supporting students for a quarter, but over an entire length of a 10-month year, our supports were run off timetable, and very similar to an elementary school model where students may be pulled out of a class to get some support from their program teacher, or the program teacher might be working in the classroom with the classroom teacher to support your child, or coming up with strategies or supports to allow your child to be successful in their learning. So I share that because that was something that we had to do on the fly with the pandemic last year. And with that piece, we had some parents say, well, I didn't think my child was going to be taking a French class this year. When the fact is, yes, even if your child does need support, they will be enrolled in a block of French. And we were pleasantly pleased looking at our first quarter and second quarter stats. And now that we're started course selection, a good number of our students who are receiving a block of support have indicated they'd like to continue with the language in grade 9 because they found that course was interesting, or that they actually had some success or talents in those areas. The last option you have as a parent with regards to programs and elective courses is our academy program. We had to take a 1-year hiatus last year with the pandemic, but we are back with a bit of a smaller offering of academic programs. As you can see on the screen, we'll be offering the Dance Academy at Delta Secondary. Our neighbors, South Delta, will be offering the Lacrosse Academy, and Siakam is doing golf. Our academy programs consist of 2 courses, and students receive credits for 2 courses through an academy. If it's a sport academy, they receive a credit in lieu of PE and wouldn't be scheduled for PE at our school. And if it's a fine arts academy, they receive a fine arts credit for being in the academy. And in essence, they'd only take 6 classes with us, and they'd take 2 classes with their academy. For more information regarding requirements for the academies, when they might be scheduled next year, please visit the link on the bottom, and maybe Mike or Meg, you can also just copy a link into the chat as well, but deltaacademies.ca, and they'll have all the information on the academies they have, costs associated, and the many benefits of being involved in an academy. I'm sharing this slide with you just regards to next year. So this year we ran as a quarter system. Traditionally, we've been a linear school, which meant students took 8 courses out at the same time, and they ran from September to June. Due to the Public Health Office guidelines and the Ministry of Education, when they came up with a framework for schooling, in order to comply and be able to transition smoothly between the different stages of learning, many of the schools in the province went to a quarter system. For next year, we're currently in discussions, and our current grade 8 to 12 parents received surveys along with our students and staff on how this year went, their thoughts on it. And just to share with you, in case you might not be familiar, we've had an overwhelming positive endorsement and support for the quarter system. We're finding students having to only focus on 2 classes at a time. They're able to focus on their studies. They're not feeling as overwhelmed. They're managing their time more effectively, and we're seeing some many students being quite successful in their class. As of right now, we are planning for a quarter system with a learning cohort. So when your child comes to Delta Secondary, they'll be put into a learning group between 24 and 30 students. And kind of like in elementary school right now, for the first half of the year, for 4 courses, they will travel as that same learning group. So they might have, for example, English, socials, PE, and fine arts together. And then in the second half of the year, uh, their learning group will switch and they'll meet another group of 30 students and they'll finish off the remaining four courses. To give you an idea of what our timetable looks like, the biggest change will be to meet the requirement of ministry minutes. We're going to have some long classes. So starting in the morning, students will have anywhere between a 2.5 hour morning class. They'll get a 40-minute lunch break, and then they'll have another 2 to 2.5 hour afternoon class. And they will take those 2 classes every day for the entire length of the quarter. I believe next year we're closer back to a 40-week calendar. So for about 9.5, 10 weeks, they'll take those same 2 courses every day. You'll receive an interim, a mid-quarter report card, and a final report card for that quarter. And then we move on to the next 2 classes. And then we go for another 10 weeks, every day, all day, with a morning class, lunch, and an afternoon class. Now, there are many ways as a community that we are able to stay connected. I know our school website, Twitter, and Facebook are most popular with the parents and our community members, but we're starting to see a few more parents join us. But I know for the students, it's our Instagram account at DSS Pacers 1912, which is probably the most popular way people are following us right now and a key component of how we deliver out information. We do the traditional day planner or agenda. The My School Day app is just that. It is a electronic planner where students will receive a calendar of the school and upcoming events. They can input their homework and what activities they have to work on their time management. They can set notifications of an upcoming test or assignment along with those items. So one way that we do try and stay connected, Ms. Boylan does a wonderful job running our website, and we try and do a bi-monthly newsletter that comes out via email to parents and looking at possibly a blog for next year as well. I do want to pause and talk a bit about cell phones. Um, I have mixed feelings on cell phones. On one hand, I think cell phones are the greatest invention in the world. We have the world's information at our fingertips. We can multitask. I can be connected to my teacher. I can give my input or feedback with the click of a button. In that same breath, I also see the struggles, the challenges, and the negative side of cell phones. And for a number of our students, cell phones can result in a lot of social drama, stress, and anxiety. And if Mike, Maggie, and I had to sit down at the end of each year and look at the concerns, the concerning behaviors, the student conflicts, or the drama, for lack of a better expression, that we have to deal with, I'd probably say 95% or more of that is all associated to a cell phone. And it's just because students get the cell phone, and as they get a little older, we're trying to give them more freedom and more responsibility. And it's very easy to set up multiple accounts, have different aliases, and while students may have the best of intentions, it's easy to get caught up in some of the conversations that happen in these group chats and group texts, and it can lead to a lot of problems. So with that, we're asking you to be partners alongside with us in educating your child around cell phone use and helping them be good digital citizens. You use the think message, before you post something or say something, is it truth? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it nice? And is it kind? We always ask students, to err on the side of caution with what they share about themselves or share about others. We want them to ask permission before they take a picture of someone else or decide to take a video clip. And I know this analogy will sound weird, but when we bring in guest speakers to speak to students about internet safety, the guest speaker always says, You would never look at a middle-aged man and tell him everything about yourself at a bus stop, or show him some sensitive pictures of yourself. But why do you young people do it so easily on cell phones? And at our school, we've really tried to empower teachers on how to use cell phones appropriately in the context of their courses. And you'll find over your 5 years at Delta Secondary, there are some teachers where as soon as your child walks in, their cell phone gets checked into a mini safe lockbox, or it gets into a little blanket cubby apparatus that was designed, and it's no phones while you're in this classroom at all. Other teachers have a middle ground approach where it's, when there's instruction going on, or I am talking or we're learning, the cell phone is out of sight and out of mind, or else it becomes my property. And if we're working independently, you're able to have some music on. And there are other teachers that have fully embedded the use of technology integration, and they have students working on blogs and working on their Delta Learns classroom, and creating wonderful media presentations from the powers of the phone. Now, if your child doesn't have a phone, don't panic. They do not need a cell phone. We have iPads and Chromebooks and MacBooks and desktop computers and a plethora of technology to support your child. But I also know the pressures and challenges um, of being in part of a generation where everyone seems to have a cell phone, and the need to have one to communicate with parents and to connect with children. And that's become evident during the pandemic, and we support those. But we just wanted to make you aware that as much as we love cell phones, they are also a bane to our existence at times. And together we'll have to do our part to help ensure that we're creating smart, respectful digital citizens. My last little slide before I close my screen to take some questions and talk about a couple other things about high school is just a reminder for you and your child that our course selection sheets are going to be due next Friday on March the 5th. I went around last week to all the elementary schools to drop off packages. So if your child hasn't brought one home yet already, your teacher was probably waiting till after tonight. So they might come out Monday with a course selection sheet, as well as a personalized login. So for my ed, we've gone ahead and already given them their login code and their initial password so that they can set up their account and begin to do their course selection. And if there's any information required, if you visit our school website, they'll be able to have you do this as well. And even though we are recording this now, we'll do a few edits to cut out my ums and pauses. But this presentation will be available sometime Monday before the end of the day if you need to come back to refer to it as well.